Welcome back to Sunrise today. Well, I know, yes, the FCT elections were conducted some days ago, but INEC themselves did also say certain lapses, certain persons who were found wanting, certain decisive actions will happen. But do I have a short clip? I mean, there are several persons who did raise concerns. In fact, some political parties did reject some of those results and the conduct of the elections themselves. So if we do have it now, we might as well just listen to it briefly before we come to our guest here in the studios.
Government electoral integrity.
We are keen to...
The area council elections in the Federal Capital Territory may have come and gone. However, the exercise is trailed by several reactions, especially from candidates and leaders of opposition parties that participated in the elections. At this news conference in Abuja, some candidates of the People's Democratic Party are dissatisfied with the outcome of the election and vow to challenge the results at the tribunal.
Our record showed that we won convincingly at the majority of the polling units. However, the figures were manipulated during the collation process to favor the APC candidates. I wish to state again that we are not accepting these results. We will pursue this matter to its logical conclusion at the tribunal.
The PDP councillorship candidates are not the only ones who faulted the outcome of Saturday's elections. 17 political parties participated in Saturday's elections, with the All Progressives Congress winning 5 chairmanship positions and leaving 1 seat for the PDP. Spokesperson of the Young Progressives Congress YPP and the FCT chairman of the African Democratic Congress ADC faults the election process, alleging electoral fraud by those declared winners by the electoral umpire.
We discovered that poverty has been weaponized, and those who actually had the means went ahead to buy votes. We heard in a place like Abaji, vote was bought for as much as 30,000 naira.
Let them go and check all the polling units. I want my polling unit, the whole of my Kabosa. At the time of at about 1 o'clock, we were leading. FCT election has never been like this.
However...
All right, so we've got Mr. Wilfred Ifoga here with us. He is the Deputy Director of Information and Publicity for INEC. Good morning. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
This kind of complaints are not new to the Commission. They happen time and again. But interestingly, the last bit where he spoke about Kabusa, we understand the Chairman of INEC, Mr. Mutmuta, did say that employees responsible for lapses in that Kuje and Kabusa FCT elections will be thoroughly investigated. Does that, because some interpret that as though some credence to what the gentleman was talking about there, isn't it?
Well, no, I think the issue there was logistic lapses. It's not that probably it did affect, but there was one thing the chairman actually charged the staff of FCT, those that were deployed for the elections, that he want early polls. In other words, all the staff, maximum 100% by 8:30, they should all be in the field. But due to some laxity, finding that Kabusa ward, most of the POs were not at the field as at that time, early enough for polls to start. So that's where they should not like probably that maybe it tainted the outcome of the result for Kabusa.
It's all a value chain. So if there's a lapse somewhere, then of course it's expected that it might give some other persons a window of opportunity to perpetrate certain things that they want. But in terms of what INEC says they would do, I think they said they were going to blacklist certain persons if they're found wanting. Is that right?
I think in terms of blacklisting, we are looking at maybe other providers that do collaborate with us, you know, to provide essential services like transportation and things like that. We have such groups or agencies that probably provided those services, we are found wanting, of course they'll be blacklisted. Then why for the staff? Probably due to their involvement. Of course, there's administrative way of dealing with such and punishing them as well.
Well, here we are now, taking a look at, the elections, what has now happened, what has now transpired. There are those who still believe that the process can be manipulated. They still haven't stated clearly in what ways, but then we've seen one or two papers flying around. I'm sure you've seen some of them, even though it's not foolproof in the sense that when you look at the numbers written in figures, it looks very suspicious. But then when you look at what was written in words, you see that the correct thing or what was meant to be written was written. But it always raises suspicion, or suspicion when people see those kinds of mistakes being made on the form ECHA. So how does INEC intend to straighten, because all of these things usually have a final effect on the impression of transparency and fairness that people have on the polls. Do you intend to, for instance, take a look at some of these result sheets to say, how come some of these mistakes were made, some of these errors were made? What can we do to reduce the incidence? Yes, mistakes can be made, but it should not be so often, it should not be so frequent, it should not be so brazen in some instances. So what do you think the Commission can do to bolster the confidence of Nigerians who believe that this is an attempt to manipulate the polls?
All right. I think for those who have been following up, the chairman, there was something we actually piloted using the FCT area council elections. And that was the introduction of a system that can help the presiding officers calculate their result to make it error-free. And in this particular election, we used it where if the calculation does not add up, the BVAS will not upload it. It will not drop. So like that particular one that is flying that everyone sees to, what happened there was the presiding officer, after calculating, instead of entering 121 for the party, which is APC, she erroneously wrote 122. She finds out that the total calculation was not adding up. So they now have to do a recounting and now find out properly sorted, now find out it is 121. Although she has already written 122. Ordinarily, what she was supposed to have done was just strike what she has written, put the real figures on top, then endorse it, and to show, yes, it was a genuine mistake, I have corrected it, and this was transpired. But somehow, in order to clean off the two, she like painted it. They now wrote one behind the first two to show the 121, but she wrote the right thing, 121 in words. Then if you go to the total, she wrote the 211, which is the total vote cast. Then the commission went further. After saying that it was flying, we find out what happened. So there's the next form, which is the collation sheet, which is the EC8B. We find out that it is the 121 she actually wrote. So in other words, that mistake never entered the second page and it was corrected. So that's one thing I want people to know, because if not for the error-proof mechanism of the BVAS, it wouldn't have entered the BVAS, or you wouldn't even see it on the right area because the calculation was incorrect. So that's one attempt the Commission made in order to ensure presiding officers get it right even before it is uploaded on the BVAS for you to see.
Wasn't there some training for this kind of officers to avoid this kind of lapses?
Of course, there was training for them. They had 3 days training, and of course, even at the registration area centers, which refers to as the RAC, there's a refresher, where even the RATEX, the technical officers deployed by the Commission, also give them a refresher training on how to handle this. But at times, because of the, probably the tension or pressure of the work on election day, you still find them making these mistakes. We are not unaware of this. That's why we tell them, settle down, whatever you have to do, do not be pressured. That's why we also call on the stakeholders to at least give them that time so that they can do these things properly and correctly.
It's interesting that the Commission has raised an internal query as to how this came about, because I believe that that's the only way you can give an explanation to the public. But I mean, I would believe that a lot of Nigerians will also be looking to see fewer and fewer, because in the last elections, these are things that came up in 2023, and that's why a lot of people still say, well, the IREV worked, even though it did not work real time. What I think the disappointment for a lot of Nigerians was that it did not work real time. But post-elections, people were still able to go there and see, and then that's where they were able to show instances, clear instances of fraud where results were altered. And nowadays, people are very suspicious of anything that is altered before it is uploaded. I'm just a little curious. You say that the BVAS will not upload if there is a mistake. How does it detect that sort of mistake?
All right, then, like I said, that's an improvement on the BVAS. Prior to the FCT elections, we did a trial, a mock, for this particular upgrade that was done on the BVAS in 289 polling units or an FCT to try how to work. So what happens is that after the calculation of the results at the polling unit, the presiding officer will enter the information on the BVAS, the figures code. It will be there. Then before, when it's now tabulated on the EC8A, it is now scanned. The photograph is taken. And if it doesn't match with what the BVAS already has as the total number of accredited voters already recorded and the figures code, it will not allow, it will not drop, it will not pick it up until the proper thing is done and the proper check is done.
Are you saying that the BVAS can read, apart from just taking a photo and sending, are you saying it can read the photo, it can read
yes,
the
it will read the figures, yes,
on the paper?
Yes, that's the latest in terms of
that's
technology.
A new feature.
Yes, a new feature on the BVAS now.
So it's some sort of upgrade or
upgrade, yes, exactly.
So that means we didn't need all that budget to
do what now?
Just update the system like a software update.
No, apart from that, remember this BVAS, when these ones were procured, it's a time we have some, then some need to be replaced, and other gadgets needs to be done. So somehow,
I just wish you brought something to demonstrate so people can actually see.
Okay, see what we are talking about.
Then you'll register more.
Or maybe, probably, maybe another time, maybe as we look towards the 2027 general elections, maybe a demonstration from the technical department. They should be able to
repetition is not, there's nothing wrong with repetition. That's where people learn anyways.
Exactly.
So what you're saying, if you understand you properly, the BVAS, as it is now, there's a calculation.
Yes, there's a place where you enter the figures on the BVAS as scored on election day at the polling unit, okay, stored there. Then as soon as you now do a scan of the photo of the result already computed and signed exactly,
EC8A, right?
Yes, it looks at it, it's going to match it with what it already has at its own record. So if it doesn't match, definitely it will not upload.
Oh.
That's very interesting. It means the BVAS has become intelligent. It's not just a scanning and uploading.
So provide technology used there. Just, there are some documents after you do your handwriting, it scans it and gives you the digital format of it.
Indeed.
So if it doesn't match, it won't go.
So wait a minute, how do we prevent people from taking advantage of this? Politicians can be smart. They can deliberately enter the wrong thing here or enter the wrong thing here to make sure it doesn't upload.
Okay, let's put it this way. That's why you have party agents at the units as well. So they protect the interest of their party there. The presiding officer is there. There are other observers at that point there as well. So we have supervisors ensuring. And remember, the BVAS is a digital device that takes record of the accredited voters.
Yeah.
So you cannot do anything beyond the number of accredited voters you have. So these are some checks we already have. So it's not like the Commission is not aware, or probably maybe people want to take advantage of it, but then we are working, so we are still engaging.
So you will equally calculate the number of voters that are there accredited first?
It knows the accredited number of voters.
Because it's already entered.
It's already, you don't even need to enter it because it's aware. The BVAS does that by either taking your fingerprint as a voter when you come in, or it does a facial recognition of you. So that does the... Remember, the BVAS accreditation is what actually determines those accredited. It's not the one on paper, because the BVAS device is the one that authenticates whatever is done on paper. It is where the one on paper is over what the BVAS has, or whatever vote cast is more than what is in the BVAS, becomes overvoting, and such results will not be accepted.
I'd like to ask, we heard the INEC chairman talk about punishment for those who did not do what they're supposed to do. I imagine that is just for INEC staff. Nothing really can happen to ad hoc staff. Is that correct? Things
can happen to ad hoc staff. If you're found wanting, remember, a crop of our ad hoc personnel, we pull them from the NYC. So if there's anything, of course, they have their agency to deal with them if they are found wanting. Then for our own staff, if they are culpable too, there is also a way to also sanction them.
Okay, we're looking forward to that. But what would you say is the greatest lesson that INEC has learned from the conduct of the FCT poll? A lot of people believe that this is the litmus test for what they hope to see come 2027.
Okay, I would like to say this. Yeah, I think most of... I remember during when the chairman was given a charge, he said one thing that will determine how credible our process is ensuring that we start early enough. That helps to calm nerves, to show, yeah, these people, they are ready and things like that. Yes, still along the line, we still find some people, probably they don't have what it takes for them to also be part of it, okay? And also, it's still with I think the terrain too, just like we had in Kuje, where their own result came last because of their environment. So I think the Commission will work on that, because definitely it represents what will happen on a general scale. So we'll look at those other areas where probably we might have these logistical challenges, not because they were not provided, but just because of where the communities are situated or located. Then also, the security architecture as well. I think the Commission will look at it too, and also be able to speak with the Interagency Consultative on Election Security on how to curb some of the things that transpired within the last FCT election in terms of security coverage.
I think it's going to be very interesting. This is something that we'll equally have a look at more as the next elections draw closer, so that people can understand what is expected of them, so that even voters too can also help watch, to be sure, because primarily from EC is still a major document.
Exactly.
So what you enter there has to corroborate with what corresponds to what you are scanning and uploading into
the BVAS.
The BVAS. So that's key. So if they allow anybody enter any wrong figure in the form EC8A, that is the beginning of their trouble.
Exactly.
As it were. But we have to thank you for coming on, Mr. Wilfred Ifoga, Deputy Director of Information and Publicity for INEC. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.